Let me be honest, most people suck at interviews. They stumble, they're boring, and completely fail to make a memorable impression. I've seen it plenty of times from the other side. Highly qualified candidates that just fail the interview. They might have the skills, the portfolio, but they just can't sell themselves effectively in that high pressure moment. But we're gonna change that today and right now. In this video, I'm gonna pull back the curtain on exactly how to stand out in interviews, not just by reciting your resume, by telling complex stories, connecting your work directly to business outcomes, and projecting an authentic confidence that makes you unforgettable, even if you're sweating bullets inside. So we're gonna cover how to master behavioral questions, confidently walk through technical problems, and even share powerful hacks to building charisma and mental resilience that every candidate will remember and wants to hire. My mission is to help 10,000 people break into data analytics. So if you're serious about landing that first data job, hit that subscribe button now because I'm here to guide you every step of the way. This is going to be step N of this video series, which is going to be nail the interview of the epic launch video series of how to become a data analyst faster from scratch. Let's get real about why most people fall flat in interviews. And it's not usually due to a lack of intelligence or a lack of skills. It's due to a lack of memorability. Most candidates are dry. They give factual bullet point answers. They list tasks. They talk at the interviewer instead of with them. And after a long day of interviews, those candidates just blend into a forgettable blur. But humans are wired for stories. Our brain wants to process information better when it's wrapped in the narrative. So when you're telling a compelling story, something powerful that happens in the listener's brain, they release a neurochemical called oxytocin. It's the same chemical that's released when the mother bonds with her newborns right at childbirth. It's also what's released when animals pair bond for life. And it's literally the neural foundation of trust and connection. And then guess what? It also triggers the release in an interview when you're telling impactful stories, just in general. When we're engrossed in an impactful story, it's what helps us connect with other humans and other people around us. And this doesn't mean your entire interview is going to be the stand-up comedy routine. It means that every answer, every interaction is an opportunity to weave a narrative that builds rapport, demonstrates your personality, and makes you someone they want to work with. Because while skills get you the interview and into the door, your personality and fit is what we're checking for during these interviews, and that's what often gets you the job. And that's how you edge out all of these other people who might be better than you, more technical than you. But this is what makes you a better fit with the team that you're trying to get into, especially in the final rounds of the interview. So I'm going to give you a core strategy of how to tell better stories. What this comes down to is a framework that you've already been familiar with if you've been watching this video series. I call it the C.A.T method. This is something I've used personally before I learned any of the other methods, and just something that I've always just stuck by. So C is context. This is where a lot of people fail. It's context, but in a narrative, it's also background. What is that context? What is that background that they need to understand the scene of the story? Start by setting the scene. What was the situation? What was the business problem or challenge? Who were the stakeholders? Why is this important? Don't just assume the interviewer knows anything about your previous role, the information, the nuances, the abbreviations, or the projects. Give them enough information to understand the landscape and to feel the importance, the pressure. Why was that important? Was everything falling apart? Was there a war room called late at night? Was everybody on this call, the CEO, the VPs, there was so many stakeholders on this call because it was a $2 million issue. If this kept on continuing, we would keep losing $2 million every day. Things like that need to be put into context. Next is going to be A, action. Specifically, what did you do to address the situation or problem? Describe your role, describe your decisions, the logic, the steps that you took. Use action verbs. This is where you're going to demonstrate your skills in action. Now, T is where you're going to translate the business result. What happened due to those actions? And what did you do and how did you achieve a measurable outcome or impact based on your actions? How did you solve the problem? What changed for the better? How did you save time, money, What process did you improve? How did you reduce risk? How did you increase revenue? This is going to be the so what. And this is crucial part because it quantifies the measurable impact whenever possible, even if it's just an estimate, to further drill the impact. And it also shows that you understand what your actions are doing and how important it is to the business. This is what gets you hired. Say that I'm asked, tell me about a time that you had to deal with a difficult stakeholder. The context, in my previous role, I was building a dashboard that tracked a marketing campaign's performance. The head of marketing had a very specific, ever-changing requirements for data points, visualizations, which led to constant rework and frustrations where I would constantly be reworking and it would go outside the scope of my work and it would take time away from critical projects and deadlines that I was working on. To address this, which is going to be this is the action. To address this, I scheduled a dedicated 30-minute meeting with just this director. Instead of presenting solutions, what I just did here was just focus entirely on learning. And I asked her open questions. I also checked with her ultimate business goals for the dashboard. I got examples and then what decisions she needed to make and the critical insights that were missing from the current projects. Then I proposed a phased approach delivered on the core version quickly and then gathered feedback and iterated, but created a structured way and consistency within a touch point every week. So then I wouldn't have to be chasing my tail. And then I could also propose when these new iterations and versions would be instead of her coming directly to me with issues and then me having to chase my tail and make it a fire every day. Now let's go to the T. By actively listening and shifting her business needs, we built a dashboard that she loved and actually used. This not only reduced rework by 40% for me, but it also increased the marketing team's adoption of data-driven decisions, leading to a 15% improvement in campaign ROI over the next quarter, which led to about $150,000 in net revenue profit. More importantly, it transformed our working relationship from one of tension and frustration to one where it was a trusted partnership where I could work with her in the future and not worry about being overworked or being frustrated that I had to keep working on her schedule. That goes beyond that. I talked to them and I ran into a frustrating stakeholder and I just scheduled meetings where I actively listened to them and that solved my problem. And now we have a great working relationship. You just need to start thinking about it in this way. Also, when you look at context, when in the CAT method, you want to think about this also in like a 3-act structure. This is how a lot of narratives go. And this is also how I think inside my head. It's going to be beginning, middle, and end. That fits nicely inside context, action, and translation. So that's one of the reasons why I like it split in a clean 3 rather than some of the other methods that were out there that like the STAR method. I like it better in this because it's also easier to remember and easier for me to implement when I'm inside interviews. So now let's go beyond the resume. Your unique story is going to be your secret weapon. I wasn't the most technical. I wasn't the most experienced, at least earlier in my career. And even later, I was competing against people who had significantly more experience, had more schooling, had better GPAs, came from better companies. So here is one of the most important pieces is you need to work on your soft skills and you need to learn how to connect with people. This is where you have to learn how to inject your unique personality, your life experiences to stand out and that make you different so that you can be more memorable in conversation. These aren't just going to be fun facts, they're opportunities to reveal valuable soft skills that will make it and lead to a real human connection. So the way that I implemented this is my personal story is I competed on a highly competitive collegiate hip hop dance team at the University of Irvine, the University of California, Irvine. I never went to UCI. I just danced there. So for years, I was director of a top tier team. I even built a personal section in my online portfolio. I built a WordPress website that was showcased visually all of my portfolio pieces, but I would have a small section that was dedicated to my dance section. And some people question, why would you even do that? And because it became a major talking point. People know the team that I danced on because they went to the same university. It was a big team. They also knew other dancers from the team or they knew of other dancers. They used to dance themselves. And this immediately brought connection and built rapport. It was an instant connection, that point that transferred from a stiff interview into breaking the ice into a natural and warmer interview. And more importantly, it allowed me to tell stories about how that dedication and discipline and hard work of practicing hundreds and hundreds of hours to perfect the routine for just 5 to 8 minutes on stage. And then also, I would talk about leadership and managing people, coordinating a team from auditions and leading directors and a team of 40 plus people, dancers, resolving conflicts, motivating people to perform at their best, taught me more real world management experience than I ever got in any corporate role. Bringing all of this back, I still remember one interview where the hiring manager and I bonded on dance for 10 minutes. It completely broke the ice, and people don't remember every single detail that you say, but they're going to remember how you make them feel. So you want to always remember that. Dance is a story that made me feel connected with them, interested, and saw a different dimension beyond my data skills. Beyond hobbies, you want to dig into your past work experiences, no matter how mundane they seem. You want to figure out the unique problems that you've overcome, the unexpected responsibilities that you took on, and then the odd situations that you navigated. These are going to become your unique stories that no other candidate can replicate. So you want to practice interjecting your natural stories and things that make you unique so that you can connect better. Most people for interviews prepare by just reviewing their resume, practicing their answers, and that's a good start. What sets you above and what sets top performers apart is going to be deeper mental preparation. I learned this specifically from my dance background. Before our final run throughs, we would sit down, and these final run throughs are the night before competition. It would be the last run through that we would do before we wrapped up the whole night. This could be at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I've had this at 10 a.m. right before the dance competition, dancing more than 12 hours from the night before. Widely inefficient, but later on it would be like at 3 and 4 where we would just finish the final touches. Here, we would sit down, we would close our eyes, and then we would visualize the entire performance. Okay, this is gonna be the final run through. We aren't going to dance this part. First, we're going to just sit, and I want you to close your eyes and visualize doing the performance inside your mind, acting as if we are there in front of the stage, in front of thousands of people. And I took this a step further when I was preparing for job interviews and for the interview process. After about learning about Michael Phelps, he is the most decorated Olympian of all time. His coach, Bob Bowman, had him do this exact visualization practice. So in his mind, Michael Phelps would take a tape, a VCR tape, and put the tape in and imagine the best case scenario race. Every stroke, every every turn, every water droplet on his skin, the screams of the crowd, he would simulate him winning. Here is the critical difference, though, that made it elite. Michael Phelps wouldn't just practice his best performance, he practiced all the different ways things could go wrong and what he would do in those situations. He would mentally rehearse preparing and overcoming those specific obstacles. And this is exactly what I adopted the same for interviews. I would coach people to do the same in high pressure situations as well when I started telling people about how to prep for their interviews as well. Visualize your best case interview scenario. You're confident, you're articulating, you're prepped, you remember everything, and then I'd have you visualize worst case scenario. Then on top of that, then I'd have you visualize realistic case scenario where you're nervous, you're tense, but you're still getting through it and you're still breezing through everything. By mentally rehearsing the challenges and your planned responses, you build mental muscle memory for handling pressure. And this is something I always heard from Navy SEALs, people in the Marines. I would always hear them say something similar to this quote: you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to the level of your training or preparation. So this is why it's important, because don't assume that you're gonna rise to the occasion and that you're gonna hit out of the park if you don't have that experience. You're going to fall back because you're going to be nervous, you're going to be tense to the level of training and preparation and practice that you did. Now that we've covered the mental and storytelling aspects, let's talk about the physical impressions that you make, because these matter more than you think. One of the easiest ways and automatic ways to stand out is to overdress. Most people will show up in interviews in a business casual, button down khakis, simple blouse and pants. My rule is to overdress so that I can stand out. Always show up in a full suit and tie for men, or a sharp, tailored professional suit for women. And that's one of the easiest ways to stand out from all the other candidates because most of the candidates will not be doing this. And how do I know this? It's because I've seen it time and time again inside our interviews. If you pay close attention to also the tiny details, there's people and hiring managers and also people on the team that are looking for that. In our discussions for when we talk about candidates afterwards with the team, one of the things that's one of my teammates, she's a top performer, brought up is I like the way they were put together and like the tiny little details from ironing their shirts to their cufflinks. You can tell that they pay attention to details. So you know that they're going to pay attention to the details when we work with them on their projects. So that's important. Plus, wearing a full suit and going above and beyond instantly projects an image of professionalism, seriousness, and attention to detail that you want to embody. Also, it's a simple, low-way effort for you to create a powerful first impression and stand out from the crowd without saying a word. On top of making a great first impression with your attire, truly elite candidates go a step further by building a physical portfolio to complement their digital one. What you want to do here is print out your most important impressive screenshots of your dashboards, key code snippets, critical parts of your analytic process, print them on nice high quality colored paper, and also how you present and store them matters as well. So I had mine in a sleek professional leather bound portfolio with clear plastic inserts that you could slip in your screenshots. That included executive summaries that made it enticing for them to ask me during my interviews. They always would ask me about the really important, really impressive looking portfolio pieces. One of the best candidates that we've ever interviewed who got hired onto our team took this entirely to a new level. So she took all her application documents, so her cover letter, her resume, her work achievements, her portfolio projects, and then got them professionally printed at a shop like Kinko's or Office Depot, and then had it bound like a professional report with a hard plastic cover and the spiral plastic spine. But she included things that I have never seen before. She included emails from customers and clients and previous bosses who had worked with her and praised her on the job, which acted as character testimonials. And then on top of that, at the very end of the portfolio that she had, she included the printouts of all the learning platform certifications. It was a full string of every data analytics course and certification that she had finished. And it showed an undeniable visual representation of her dedication to learning and upskilling. And she also became a top performer of our team. So the lesson here is just simple. First impressions matter. How you present yourself, how you present your work matters immensely. Yes, the content and the depth of your answers matter as well, but the lasting memory of how you first impress those you interview with can carry significant weight. And it doesn't stop there. The follow-up matters as well. You need to be memorable to the very end. The interview doesn't end when you leave the room. How you follow up after the interview matters just as much. A handwritten note goes incredibly a long way. In this digital age, it's rare to get a powerful and touching note that shows genuine effort and appreciation. I even had a friend who later became a very, very successful veterinarian who would take this a step further. After her interview, she would drop off cookies or other small food items for the hiring manager to share with the team. And these seemingly little ways go a long way to becoming memorable because it got her into the best interviews, got her into the best internships, got her hired at the top competitive companies, often beating out hundreds and thousands of other applicants that were vying for those top spots. Why does this work? Because ultimately people don't remember what you said. They absolutely remember how you made them feel. And this is one of those lasting ways of how to make them feel happy and have those fuzzy, warm feelings to remember your interview. And it's just that lasting bow on top. So remember, you're not just looking for a job, you're looking for the right job with the right team. So by mastering this interview strategy, you're not just a candidate, you're the right valuable colleague who's memorable, skilled, and ready to contribute. And if you're new and still looking for a learning platform to learn data analytics skills and AI skills, my favorite beginner-friendly platform to learn data analyst skills and data science skills is DataCamp. Their interactive lessons make it easy to build real SQL, Python, and dashboard and AI skills fast, and you can try it for free by using the link in the description below to see if it's a good fit. Now, if you missed any part of the epic launch video series of how to become a data analyst from scratch faster, catch up on the full playlist here. Every step builds real momentum to getting hired. Click on that playlist now, and until then, query responsibly, and I'll see you in the next video.